Welcome back to the Community Report on PCM Cable TV 2. My name is Brian Hanner, and in this edition of the Community Report, we're learning more about the nuances of Dover's bond issue request with some local experts, and we're pleased to have Bob Horn with us. Mr. Horn, tell us a bit about yourself and how you've been involved with this project.
Well, thank you, Brian. Yes, I'm a consulting electrical engineer. I'm a native of Dover, married a local Dover girl. We lived away from the community for 8 years while we were getting our education and first jobs, and moved back to the community in 1977 to establish my engineering practice and took it from there. We've been here ever since.
And so as the plans for a new Dover High School first came to be, had you been involved in the ground level of that or had any discussions with the school?
Well, I've been involved with the Dover schools really my whole career here. I've done various projects there, had an opportunity to be in parts of the existing high school building that I would venture to say very few people have ever been in. So I can say that I know the building fairly well. As far as this latest effort is concerned, yes, I was involved in a group of citizens over the last several years that reviewed the building, reviewed the plans that the Board of Education was considering. We discussed issues like should we renovate or should we build new? The first idea was going through the building to see what issues were going to be in renovation. So had a pretty good look at that from an engineering point of view. And then, of course, was part of the process when they decided to go forward with the exceptional needs program as well.
Some of the feedback I've been getting from the community and that we hear is that $30+ million to renovate our existing high school sounds like a lot of money, that we'd be putting in a Taj Mahal, or that somehow that price tag isn't realistic. And yet we've heard it's modest from others. What sort of opinion or direction can you give us with your expertise that lets us know that that's either a credible number or a low number or a high number? Well,
Brian, I've been involved in somewhere around 12 OSFC projects, and I've had the opportunity to look at that number for all of those projects. Probably about half renovations, half new. And I will tell you that those numbers, in my professional judgment, are generally on the low side. In this particular case, I do know that the number $30 million is not unusual for a renovation. I looked it up in some up-to-date cost information that we have in the office, that we use to estimate the cost of projects. And it actually comes out to be just about where you would expect it to be. It is around a $30 million project. I think to renovate the building in its current configuration, to provide a 21st century environment, obviously walls are going to need to be revised and so forth, and that is going to up the estimate, in my judgment, well beyond $30 million. So that's a starting point.
It could cost us more to live with our building than to build new.
I think it could cost us more to live with our building, and we would end up with a configuration that is not ideal for what it should be in the 21st century in terms of technology spaces, HVAC systems, and so forth.
I'm going to ask you to call deep just a bit on some of your experience with OSFC projects, Ohio School Facilities Commission projects. Tell us about your work in a district where they've built new and the results thereof, and then maybe talk a little bit about a district that chose to live within its existing building and how that has affected them long term.
Well, Brian, I've done renovations and new buildings in several districts in the area. I'm just going to choose Canton as an example because I did probably a third of the schools in the Canton area when they were redid, and there are a lot of schools in Canton. The first two OSFC projects I ever did were in Canton schools. Bellstone and Fairmount are the names of the two schools, and they were existing buildings that were at the time judged to be renovated rather than building new buildings. And I was not a part of that decision. That's an OSFC decision, basically. in hindsight, the buildings were very difficult to renovate, and what they ended up with is nowhere near what they could have had in a new building, just because of the limitations of the structure of the building and what we had to work with. Is it an improvement over what they had? Yes, absolutely. Is it what they could have had for the same money? Not in my judgment.
How have you seen Dover really distinguish itself with this exceptional needs program? I mean, to find ourselves to the top of the list in terms of buildings that have a need for replacement took me by surprise, frankly. I've been out of that building 17 years, and yeah, it was old when I was there, and it's older now. But to look around and to face the reality that Dover had a #1 on a list we shouldn't be proud of took me by surprise.
Well, Brian, I've been out of that building for 42 years. So, and frankly, my kids all graduated from Dover High School. When you go through the building to sporting events or into the auditorium for choir events or even into classrooms occasionally to observe things that are going on, you maybe don't realize the problems that exist with the building. But as an engineer, when I was asked to go through as part of the Citizens Committee to look at the building, there are all kinds of issues with that building that will make it difficult to renovate and make it work properly for our kids for the next 40 to 50 years. Issues like space for technology, issues like space for the requirements of modern HVAC systems to bring fresh air into the building, provide air conditioning and so forth, which are all requirements under the program. You ask about the Exceptional Needs Program. This was a new thing to me when it came up in Dover. I had not heard of it before, but basically an explanation of it is that we were on the OSFC list. We might be 4, 5, 6, 7 years out until we could normally get funds to do our projects in Dover. But the exceptional needs list, as I understand it, exists so that the state would fund 1 or 2 of these buildings a year. And what they do is they ask districts where they know there's a building that's in bad repair or is simply old and worn out. They ask the district to apply for this program. And Dover applied and ended up being #1 on the exceptional needs list. Now, we're excellent in education. We're #1 in football, but by golly, who would have thought that would be #1 in exceptional needs for our building, meaning that our building is the worst building in the state at this point in time. That is not a reflection on the maintenance crew. We have an excellent maintenance staff at Dover High School. We have an administration that uses very few dollars that we give them every year to maintain the whole district's buildings, and they've done what they can. But it's a matter of there comes a time when you have to do something new. Well, with exceptional needs, the state says, we will give you the money to build a new building. We will not give you the money to renovate because it's not worth it. And the state, through independent architects and engineers that they hire, has made that determination. So what we're faced with at this point in time is, do we build a new high school building? Or do we wait 5, 6, 7, 8 years, hope the program is in existence that long, which it may or may not be, and then renovate or build new building? And we'll be building a new building in 8 years. We won't get the money for this building to renovate it from the state. It means $9 million to us, basically.